Hello, Bob Van Rossum with Market Pro. We just wrapped up a CMO search for a $250 million company, a little over 250, maybe 275. And really good search, really positive process, got a little squirrely at the offer, right? And so this is just something for organizations, especially high growth organizations, to look out for and understand when they're going through an executive search process. What we do is marketing executive search. About half of that is chief marketing officers. But overall, this applies to any senior level executive you're bringing into your growing company, and how to make that executive feel really valued and welcome and part of the team. Right. So we went down a path for a CMO search and presented our normal slate of 7 or 8 candidates to our client. And all the candidates were very excited about the opportunity because it is a great, great organization with a very smart and humble leadership team. And we had a candidate we presented, and she pretty quickly separated herself from the other candidates. Very strong marketer, lifelong learner, heavy on the data analytics, performance, growth-oriented marketing, and had meaningful accomplishments where she was coming from and the growth that she was able to drive with her previous employer. So we reached out to her and engaged her in a conversation with our client. She was interested. She didn't have a resume at the time, so she created one and we presented that. And our client, who's in high growth mode and has multiple products that they're launching and is really got a lot going on, moved through the interview process quickly, but there were points and times where there were some gaps, right? Some times where they had other things going on and they couldn't actively interview. Now, I bring that up because while we reached out to her, put her in the market, she did say, hey, I've got this new resume. Let's see who else might be interested in me. And before we could get her an offer, she had another verbal offer. And she was the sole finalist in 2 additional opportunities. So she had a verbal offer, our client plus 2 other, where she went out and interviewed, and everyone wanted to hire this person. Kind of gives you a sense of how talented she is, right? So we're at the end of the process, and she's meeting with my client as they're traveling. And I send an email to the chief of staff, to the CEO, and I said, hey, let's get us together and we can discuss parameters of the offer, where I think it should come in at. And not sure how the miscommunication happened, but ultimately, what I got back was, hey, we'll look to schedule something for that. And then before we actually had a conversation, they sent our candidate an offer. And so my client came and put in an offer that was lower than her current base, and went ahead and sent that to her, copied me. Again, we didn't get a chance to discuss it beforehand, which is standard. And so I called him. I just sent an email to the candidate because I knew she was probably a little bit discouraged by the offer and where it came in at. I said, hey, let's connect in the morning. So we did. And then I went and called the client and said, hey, just share with me kind of your thought process on why the offer came in where it did. And because you're aware it came in lower than her current compensation. She said, yeah, I'm aware of that, but we've got such a good we're growing quickly. We've got such a great opportunity. With her current employer, her bonus is not going to get paid this year. We always pay our bonuses. Our bonus percentage is a little higher. I just felt like overall, this is a better opportunity for her career and her growth. And we felt like the offer was fair. And the reality is, it is a great opportunity for her. And she is going to have a meaningful impact on the business. And they are going to do a better job of paying bonuses going forward than her current employer. But the fact that her current employer is not paying bonuses is one of the main motivations she had for looking in the first place, right? So you kind of got to take that off the table. But at the end of the day, what do you want, right? What are we doing here, and why is this so important, right? We've gone through a very detailed interview process, put an incredibly positive foot forward about the organization and the company and what it's like to work there. And it is a great place to work. Put together an understanding of the culture and why the culture is important, and how everyone's really pulling together as a team and wanting to move forward to help this organization grow, as they're really doing, not just have they grown from 0 to 250, 275 million in 10 years, but the work they do matters to people's lives, right? So it's like all that is cool with who they are. And the executive team, for all their success, is very down to earth, very humble. and yet got a little bit ahead of themselves here, a little bit full of themselves here, a little bit valuing their organization ahead of what the messaging was they wanted. You can't possibly tell someone, hey, we're really excited about you. We want you to come be a part of our organization. And to show you how much we're excited, we're going to ask you to take a pay cut to do it. It never, ever works that way, no matter how great your organization is and how much additional they might make via bonus or stock. I mean, there is a different conversation we had around total comp, but we weren't meaningfully off there relative to what her targets were, what her LTI was, and what your targets are, your LTI is, except that her bonus wasn't getting paid in your previous employer. So net of all that, right? There's a lot of great companies out there that are growing quickly. We've got an AI revolution going on. There's plenty of people doing meaningful things in the world. If you want top talent, make sure they know that based on the offer you present them. Now, she wasn't expecting something overly high either, right? We ended up getting her a bump from her current salary to this new compensation. And it ended up being what was fair and proper for the role, for the challenges of the organization is facing and the impact she's expected to have. And so we ended up in the right place after a conversation, but it didn't necessarily have to start that way, where we put forth an offer that was completely disconnected from everything else in the process.